All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Market Mastery. We have got a little bit to cover off this morning, but going to try and make this one a quick flash update for you all. So at the moment, Bitcoin looks like it's starting to put in a really nice high time frame bottom at the moment. So most notably at the moment is the 3-drive bullish divergence. So call it a 3-drive because we have 1 dip, 2 dips, and 3 dips. All of this plays out while we're constantly making higher highs on our RSI indicator, right? So while we're making lower lows on price, RSI is making higher lows every time. And we can see that our RSI divergence indicator is popping up, showing us the bullish divergence. Now, these happen all the time on lower time frames, but they don't happen very often on the higher time frames, like the daily or the weekly, for example. On the daily, we've only had a couple of these per year generally. So it's a very rare opportunity. And if we combine that with the sweep of the range lows here, when you come all the way down to the selling climax, but the second test selling climax down here at 31K, we've got a really nice sweep of the low and instantly reverse from there. If you look on the 5-minute time frame, it's a perfect setup. So that obviously is the perfect time to get in, is when you reclaim. When you sweep below an SFP, a key wick like this and then reclaim it straight away is really where you want to be getting in for the prime entry and running your stops below there. That's, how whales generally trade, because you can get the most amount of size in with only a very small distance to your stop loss. So you have very limited downside and very high protected upside. Then the next entry that was a pretty nice one to take was actually, if we can get to it, was actually the setup for the Morningstar. So the wick and pin bar closed red as well. It's very similar to the daily Morningstar that we're just closing at the moment now, and then pushed from there. So we get the nice Morningstar reversal. I missed actually this wick SFP down here, but I managed to get in on the Morningstar candle through here for most of my entries. The next entry is the first higher low coming back down here. And that was actually put in after the candle close. So a little trick that we've been using for a while, we teach this in the Market Mastery course, one that Roman actually developed from doing a lot of back testing, was entering 50% on the candle close. So that we have the daily Morningstar reversal setting up with our nice pin bar, right? We take a Fibonacci and put that over the top of the candle from wick to wick. And then we look for the 50% mark to come back and get hit before the market reverses from there and pushes the upside to complete the Morningstar. Now, if these generally fail and roll over, what happens is it pushes high and then comes back down and rolls over from there after the push high first. So what we like to see with these setups is it breaks down first. And so we have the retracement after the big wick's gotten put in. We come back down, we tag the 50% mark, and that gives us our next opportunity to get in. And then the market reverses and starts to push higher from there. So that obviously played out really nicely. It doesn't always play out every single time. It does a fair amount of the time though. So it's a really nice setup if it comes down and you can get the opportunity to get in, but sometimes it doesn't come all the way down or it just pushes straight away. So that's why I like to get in on the candle close as well. And then also can add when we reclaim the top of the pin bar also. So obviously this was a red candle down here, and then when that flips back green, and then when you break the top of the candle of the pin bar, that's the next opportunity to get into the market. So then obviously we push higher from there, and we end up getting the really nice Morningstar reversal close. Now, the reason why I think this could be a higher time frame bottom is that we're actually going to close this as a Morningstar reversal, but also as an bullish engulfing version of the pattern, which is a lot better, higher time frame setup, especially when you see something like this on the daily. Gives me a lot more confidence that there's probably going to be more bullish continuation. And you match that up with, we're down 50%, 55% to the wick lows from the all-time high. Really strong, massive, probably the biggest bullish fundamental development in Bitcoin with El Salvador passing the law yesterday to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. And now they're moving into mining, and they're going to use the geothermal power plants, which use 100% clean energy, really, really cheap, because they basically just use the steam off that's created by the volcanoes in El Salvador. So there's a lot of really bullish activity going on at the moment. And yeah, obviously them adopting it. And it looks like a lot of Latin America wants to adopt crypto as well, which is going to be pretty big. So what we need to see now is we need to see the 40K range high, which is from back here. We need to see that broken and either support resistance flip of that or just really clean break and then push up to range lows from the previous distribution top, which is around that 50K level. Now, just going to get Roman and Harry's indicator up because it shows us where the P blocks are, which obviously play out really important. So this is our P block down here, which came down at 28K and came down and tagged that again. That obviously gave a lot of support back here and back here early in January. We were around 30K the first time and came back and tagged that obviously again and reversed from there. So the P blocks can offer really good high time frame levels of support and resistance. Now we do have one here, which is at the wick low at 43K. That could pose some issues. I want to see that flipped into support. And then the other one, which I think is going to be really interesting, is this one here, which is also pretty much the range low of this distribution range, which is about 50K. So if we can reclaim, so do something like this, SR flip that, and then reclaim the range low through here, I think we've got a really strong chance of continuing the bull run and moving to the upside. Now, we've had, obviously, this is a huge bullish candle, really strong engulfing as well. If this now fails and rolls over and get a bearish engulfing or something like that, I don't want to see it lose this 32K, which is actually a weekly order block, which we've got a really nice close on, right? So this is where the block's taken from. I don't want to see us close below there or trade anywhere near there again. If we come back down there, it needs to be a wick and then quickly bought up, very similar to what we've just seen here. But if we come back there, I think very high chance we're probably going to come and roll over all the way down to this P block down here around the 20K mark. At the moment, if we close the weekly anything like this or stronger, or even close the weekly above 40K, that would be another confirmation that we're going to continue heading higher. So watch for the weekly confirmation for continuation of the bull run. Because if that's a really strong bullish candle, that will give really good insight. If we can close above resistance, that will give really strong insight as if we're going to come up and test this 48 to 50K level, right? So it's something I'm going to be watching over the next couple of days. Now, one thing at the moment, we're just reclaiming monthly resistance and flipping the monthly green, which obviously is a bullish sign. Don't want to reject here and start to roll over. If we do come back to test the range lows, I want to see a really strong bounce off this 34,500, or really it's 34,600 level, which if it does come back down there, I think it'll be a really nice entry for a continued upside. So I think that will probably get bought up because it's the double bottom from back here on, it's pretty much, the range lows. So this is looking a lot like, your typical wick off reaccumulation pattern. Sorry, accumulation pattern, not reaccumulation. And we've just had our nice spring put in there with the SFP that gets all the panic sellers to dump in and capitulate just underneath the swing low point. So it's a really nice setup, and it seems like the market is flipping back bullish. And this is the first time we've had a bullish pattern actually confirm and play out. I mean, there's still 18 minutes left, but it's definitely going to close higher than 36K anyway. So really, to confirm the pattern, really only need to close over 34,600. So this is going to definitely close over and confirm the Morningstar reversal, and quite a strong confirmation of that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get that much of a pullback. It might come back in the next day or two to a weekly open at 35,800, but that could be all we get for a dip. So I think any dips are definitely for buying at the moment. We haven't really flipped into a strong uptrend just yet. We do need to take out this 40K level to really flip back bullish. But at the moment, it's the first time we've had a bullish setup play out bullish and confirm. So it could be the bottom of more to come. Dominance looks like it wants to have a rotation of capital from altcoins back into Bitcoin. So Bitcoin could take the show for a little bit now. Obviously, Ethereum has this new tech upgrade in the London hard fork, which is coming out in mid-July. So, we could have Bitcoin run for the next, 3-4 weeks, and then Ethereum takes back the show for the last couple of weeks. And then it'd probably be a bit of a sell the news event, though Ethereum has pumped really hard versus Bitcoin recently. So that might already be priced in. The hard fork might already have been priced in, and now we're going to get a bit more consolidation sideways. But I can definitely see Ethereum coming back to around 0.57. So just be careful of that. If you're holding a lot of ETH and you don't want to, or other altcoins, you don't want to lose your Bitcoin value. Because if you look at the watch list, Bitcoin's up about 12% and everything else has hardly moved. So, FTT is probably the closest. Solana not really even moving that much at the moment today. And everything else, is really lagging, going sideways. So altcoins probably be okay versus USD. They probably won't lose much value. Some of them will even gain a little bit of value while Bitcoin runs. If it does continue to push and goes back up to 60K or something, altcoins versus Bitcoin will pull back quite dramatically, though. They might not pull back too much against US dollars. Some of them will get dragged up as well and sort of run a little bit with Bitcoin, but don't expect massive moves out of altcoins until they have finished their push, until Bitcoin has finished its push. And then there'll probably be rotation of capital back out of Bitcoin, back into alts, and we'll get a sell-off in Bitcoin dominance again, similar to what we've seen here. But there's a very clear change of structure in Bitcoin, in Bitcoin dominance here. It's definitely a change of the pattern. So keep your eyes on that. Don't be too heavy in alts if you don't want to lose Bitcoin value. If you're happy to just hold the alts and it go up against USD, you'll be all right. Okay, so the SPX, which is obviously a stock market, looks a bit toppy here, a bit of a double top at the moment. This could roll over and cause some problems for the crypto market, but they're not highly correlated at the moment. Though when we did have this big 3-day dump, the crypto markets did sell off pretty aggressively at the same time as well. So granted that the stock market doesn't nuke and come all the way back to 4K or something like that, it'll probably be okay. But more chop and a little bit of a drawdown here would be fine. I don't want to see a massive sell-off or a big nuke down to 4,000 or something like that. Because that could cause Bitcoin and the rest of crypto markets to have a little bit of a liquidation event as funds and stuff like that are selling other assets that might be in profit to cover their margin calls, etc., on the stock market. So let's just see how that plays out. But it's definitely one to keep your eye on. Bitcoin is looking good. Let's see how it closes, if we can close on the daily above the monthly or not. I don't think it's a really huge issue for me. The bullish close is already pretty much locked in. So I think this has a very high chance of being the bottom for Bitcoin. We return to an uptrend now, but obviously we still haven't changed market structure. It still hasn't made higher highs, still making higher lows and lower lows. So we still need to change that market structure and reclaim this 40K level and start to push from there before we can be super confident. But I think it's definitely a good time to be looking. If you're not in position yet, a lot of us did get into position in the Discord, down in the low 32 area. And over Facebook, I called it in the groups yesterday around the 33 mark. So hopefully, you guys are already positioned. If not, I think, the next pullback is definitely one for buying. The low timeframes are fairly overextended at the moment. So we could have a bit of a pullback soon. The 1 hour is getting close to being overbought. Even though that can get pinned to the upside pretty aggressively, we might have a little bit of a pullback back down to 35 or something like that. So could do something like this, pull back to 35, flag out for a while and then push again. Wouldn't be too bad to see. So, but ultimately we want to see it stay bullish and continue to push the upside and test that 40K area soon and break out of that. So it's passed all the tests so far. We've had two really nice bullish days, a good close yesterday, strong bullish day today. And we want to see, all that money that's sitting on the sidelines in fiat, in stable coins at the moment, start to come back and jump back into the market. This is a really good high time frame entry on the daily, because we don't get that many daily entries, daily setups. So averaging in, if we do get a pullback, you can buy some on the daily close if you're not in yet, and then a stop loss below the wick here or even below this 32K level as well. Is a pretty good high time frame entry to hopefully let this one run and push back up at least to 50K and then possibly higher after a little bit more chop. So don't get too excited yet. Possibly is the bottom, but I do think that, it could chop around and do this sort of stuff for a while and take its time until later on in the year. Usually summer in the US time, summer is usually low volatility periods for crypto. We don't usually get that many pumps over the US summertime, but anything could happen. Crypto is a crazy market and, possibly we're still in a bull run. So let's see. The market still needs to do a bit of proving to return back into an uptrend, making higher highs and higher lows. Until then, we're going to have to sit back and wait and see what happens. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. I'll see you guys all in the next episode.